Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 5 of CCFR Radio on the Air. I'm your host, Rod Giltaca. Thanks for joining me again. We have a special Remembrance Day episode for you today. It's going to be awesome. And that includes 2 truly engaging interviews with a couple of really interesting Canadian veterans. So one after the other, it's going to be awesome. You won't want to miss those. Plus, the wildest things are going on in Canadian politics right now. So we're going to be bringing on Ms. Tracey Wilson from the CCFR, of course, on to tell us all about that. It's going to be a wild episode. So make sure that you stick with us. All that and more, CCFR Radio starts right now.
CCFR Radio on the Air is brought to you by Wild TV Plus, the best hunting, fishing, and outdoor content available anywhere, anytime, on any device. Visit wildtvplus.ca.
All right, we are back, and I've got Ms. Wilson from the CCFR here via the internet. Wilson! I got no voice.
What's happening to you right now?
Yeah, well, I lost my voice a couple of days ago, and it's just barely coming back. You'll hear it in one of the interviews as well. So there's a lot of bad news out there, but here's some good news. The Yukon had a provincial election. They elected a conservative provincial government, the Yukon Party, and this party has promised to oppose the federal government on their gun confiscation program. So congratulations to Yukoners for doing the right thing.
Yeah, that's right. Curry Dixon just nailed it with his Yukon Party, decimated the Liberals. They're down to just 1 seat. And the Yukon Party is enjoying a majority conservative government. So that's fantastic.
Yeah. So congratulations to everybody that played a part in making that happen. It takes a lot of work to do that. Now,
yes,
we have a little slice of time to talk about some really important things that are going on in the Canadian political landscape. It's not great, but it is what's going on. So the first part of this little dialogue that we're going to have for the rest of the segment and then in the outro is federal budget 2025.
Yeah, so it's been a long time since we've had a budget. Of course, Mark Carney's half a year late with this. But you'll remember last year when Chrystia Freeland resigned over the mere idea of a $65 billion deficit. And that triggered a series of events. It was her resignation, Trudeau's resignation, the prorogation of Parliament, an election upset, and we ended up with our elbows up Prime Minister. Well, Carney blasted through that ceiling. That was enough to cause all that to happen with an $80 billion projected deficit, which is actually $130 billion if you combine the 2 math departments that he has divided, operational spending and capital investment. He promised Canadians it would be an austerity budget, yet there's $141 billion in new spending, and the total spend, which is staggering to me, is $581 billion. This is the highest in history. Now, just a fun fact for those keeping score, the Libs are going to spend more on the war on licensed gun owners and your legally acquired firearms than they will on Operation Reassurance. That's our mission in Latvia, securing the border and hiring those CBSA agents combined. They're going to spend more fighting us. So it is a wild time here in Ottawa. All kinds of crazy things are going on. If you're worried that maybe this budget might not pass and we might be flung into a Christmas election, never fear, because Mark Carney's got a plan for that too. And he's been courting disgruntled conservative MPs to come over to his side. So instead of going to an election and getting a mandate from the public, he's just making some backroom deals to do that. He's already started yesterday at the time of airing of the show. Chris D'Entremont from Acadie Annapolis in Nova Scotia has crossed the floor from the Conservatives to the Liberals and will now sit on the government benches. So an interesting time. And apparently there's more coming. So yeah, this is a developing story.
It's crazy. Anyway, all right. We're out of time for this segment. As I mentioned, I hate to bring politics into something we want it to be the Remembrance Day episode, but this is relevant stuff. But we're going to put that on the back burner for a few minutes. We've got 2 segments with 2 fantastic interviews to acknowledge Remembrance Day. We will see you in the outro, and everyone enjoy the next 2 interviews. All right, so stick with us. Chris, welcome.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. So for anyone that doesn't know you, you are Chris Kopp, and you own a business in Edmonton called CTOMS. And so there's an interesting story that we have coming up, but you're a longtime CCFR supporter, so I really appreciate that. Thank you. And I wanted to give our audience an opportunity to hear the interesting story that I heard when we met. So we'll talk about your business real quick, and then how and why you started your business. So
For sure.
Just like a minute or so, just an introduction to the business itself.
Yeah, so the business, we started as a training company. We provide tactical medical training, primarily to military law enforcement. There's an online component where just the general public can attend the didactic component online, and then the physical, practical stuff is done on contract with military and law enforcement. So.
Okay, and you also provide medical supplies as
Yes,
well
sir.
as
Yeah.
part of your business, and some
Yeah.
other things that you got going.
Yeah, so wholesale and retail of medical equipment. So things like tourniquets, hemostatic dressings, something that guys would stock what they call their IFAC, or their individual first aid kit with, and then we dabble in like the rope rescue and just some generic tactical gear as well. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now, the story of how you originally started in the military, and then you ended up starting this business. Just tell us a little bit about how that story happened.
Yeah, so the genesis of the company is really stems back to my military career. So I joined the Army right out of high school, and I joined the infantry. And it was a time where, I went to Bosnia a couple times, but it wasn't really exciting. So I wanted to make the next step. Where am I going to go? And I had my eyes on search and rescue technician, which was a very competitive trade to get into. So to pad my application, I went to EMR and EMT school, and just got a medical background. And then I got accepted to selection, but I ended up getting deployed to Afghanistan before I went to selection as the infantry Chris or Corporal Kopp before the trade change. So in Afghanistan, you'll remember it was the very first 4 casualties of Canadian casualties of the war. And it was the friendly fire incident where the American F-16 pilot accidentally or purposely, but misidentified us and dropped a 500-pound bomb on my platoon and killed 4 of the guys and wounded 8. So because I had the medical background, I ended up treating some of my friends that night, providing medical treatment. And then afterwards, I realized, this isn't really, we weren't properly trained, properly equipped. I was made aware of some doctrine that the Americans were using. And I thought, man, this should be implemented, in the Canadian military. So we started this grassroots thing to start that up while I was in. And then I ended up going search and rescue technician. I ended up a couple of years into that having to get a surgery done. So while I'm on my couch, I incorporated this little hobby company with the intent of doing a side hustle, if you will, to bring the training that we had created in the Army intended for the military. I'm like, the law enforcement can benefit from this significantly. And the company kind of took off, and I had to make a decision whether I stay in the military or get out. And hardest decision of my life, I ended up getting out, and the rest is history. So here we are 20 years later.
So that was a turning point in your life when you experienced such a dramatic event where you have so many people in need of care all at the same time. And then of course, things have changed.
Yes.
Techniques and responses have changed over time as well. So
Completely.
maybe things could have turned out better had people had a certain level of training. And
yeah, I don't know if they would have turned out better. I think the lessons happened for a reason. Nobody necessarily died because of equipment shortages or errors, but the lessons were hard learned. And so the tourniquet that went on one of the guys, there wasn't such thing as a manufactured arterial tourniquet at the time. It was an IV tourniquet, but where the training let us down was that we didn't know the difference. And this was, we had put an IV tourniquet on an arterial bleed. what saved him was proximity to the hospital, to the combat hospital. But the lesson was still there. I mean, that hits you pretty hard as to what could have happened if you had been further out. And so it was those lessons. I'm like, man, I don't want anybody to be put in the position that I was put in. I want all the information and all the equipment out there.
And so we're talking about a different kind of medicine, not just, whatever, urban ambulance.
This is in high threat
environments.
Yeah.
And so it's a different type of medicine with some different focuses, but you do have an aspect of your business that's available. If people want to learn about that because they're interested, because these are good skills to have, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a way they can do that through your business too.
Yeah. So we run CTOMS Academy, which is our online training medium, and that's available to absolutely everybody. And what it does is it teaches the same depth, which is a much deeper level of first aid training than you would take in a normal first aid course. And so it teaches people how to deal with the real trauma, the knife attacks, the gunshot wounds, the bear attacks, the severe trauma, not just the little cuts and scrapes and
limbs. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You've been a long time supporter of the CCFR, and I was just wondering if you want to share with us why have you supported us so long?
Yeah, well, I think, from a company perspective, it's because we are reaching the demographic. I think firearms owners are generally prepared citizens, and that's who we want to reach out and think would benefit from this type of training. And just from a personal perspective, I've been carrying a gun since I was 9. I had a pellet gun at first, on my family farm, and then I went to the 22, and then I went into the Army. So firearms have always been near and dear to part of my life, for sure.
Yeah, well, we really appreciate the help. And we've still got a lot of work to do, unfortunately. I'd like to say that the work's all been done, but we're going to stay at it. And again, really appreciate all your assistance and for being here today.
Thank you very much, Rod.
Awesome. All right, we're back. And in the studio, we have a special guest today, Jenn Godin from Veteran Hunters. She runs the women's program over there. Welcome, Jenn.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. So we don't have a lot of time on television, obviously. So what's most important is tell us about your organization and what you guys do.
So the Veteran Hunters takes veterans, current military and first responders, and correctional out into hunting and fishing adventures to find healing from trauma.
Do you have a lot of veterans taking advantage of your program?
As of right now, we've had roughly 435 participants.
Holy smokes.
Since our inception in 2019.
That's a lot of people.
It is.
It's a lot of help.
It is, and it's growing, and we can't take everyone out that has applied because we do need some volunteer help, as we are a volunteer, self-funded, raised through donations.
You have some corporations that are helping you, and these are good corporations, so why don't we make sure that we mention them?
Vortec Canada is, of course, huge. They have been with us since the beginning. Also, Bass Pro is a huge sponsor as well, but we are looking for some other sponsors to help our veterans get out.
Okay, so how did you get involved in this organization yourself?
I've been with the organization for 2 years now. I was originally a participant that had never hunted before. I'm a veteran myself, and I was looking for the camaraderie that I had lost and the support from people that actually understood what it was like to be a veteran with PTSD. So since then, we've started the female program, which does hunting and fishing for our female veterans and first responders.
All right. And you ended up receiving a lot of help from the organization.
Yes. If it wasn't for this organization, I honestly don't think I would be here speaking with you today.
Okay. So you served.
Yes.
And you sacrificed a little for that.
I did. I'm a bit of a different case just because I joined the Canadian Force Reserve at the age of 16 and then transferred into Reg Force shortly thereafter. I served till about 2014 and I couldn't keep going. I had a family and everything just kind of hit all at once. So I left to thinking that would fix things, and it didn't. It opened up a whole new level of hurt that I thought that I didn't have. I thought that I had stuffed it deep down, and it finally all came to the surface, and I lost myself. And trying to be a mom, a wife, I couldn't keep things together. So the veteran hunters, the founder, Todd, spent a lot of time with me, helping me find my happiness again. And with that, I can be there for my kids. I can be there for my husband. And I have a smile again at the end of the day.
So a lot of people have been through what you've been through.
I think a lot more than people know.
Yeah.
Especially with the PTSD or PTSI diagnosis, it's not a visible injury. So we look completely normal on the outside, but they don't know the darkness that we face day to day.
Yeah. Now, you're not getting any public or any government funding. This is all funded from people who are donating, and you're all volunteer at this point.
We are all volunteers. So all the hunter hosts, anybody that helps in the organization is volunteer. They're doing it out of the goodness of their hearts to either help their brother and sisters, or we do have civilian volunteers that do step up to help us help the people that have served our country.
So you're based in Alberta, right?
Yes.
But you're you're expanding. You have people across the country, correct?
Yes, we have BC, I have to think here, BC, Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland. And we're looking to expand into the other provinces so we can help truly coast to coast.
Well, it sounds like you're building up the organization. Sounds like it's doing something that's really, really necessary. And it also, I mean, I've had a few conversations, right? I didn't serve myself, but it seems like the government is not taking a proper approach to helping our veterans after they've given everything that they could give to the country.
That is correct. And we've even have participants that have been offered the maid service through Veteran Affairs Canada, and our government is turning their backs on the people that have served to protect us. And that's not just your military, that's your RCMP, your firefighters, your paramedics. We deal with everybody under that umbrella.
Yeah. So this is probably a little better of an approach, wouldn't you say?
It is, and the power of nature is a wonderful thing. And they just need to find that quiet. And if the people listening could actually see what it is to have a veteran out in nature and the rapid change that we see is truly amazing.
The healing.
Yes.
Yeah. If people want to find out what your organization does, maybe how they can get help themselves or how they can support the organization, where can they find you
They can
guys?
find us on the web at theveteranhunters.com. We do have Facebook and Instagram as well if they want to follow even more.
So they'll get to know the organization a lot better by going there and also by following you guys on social media, obviously.
Yes.
So the Facebook is fairly well attended.
Yes.
Facebook page. Is that your main social media?
Yes, and then it does link into Instagram as well.
Okay, awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming to tell us about your organization. Sounds like something that everybody should get behind, and thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we are back now. Hopefully you enjoyed those two interviews. I really enjoyed interviewing both of those people, and it always gives me a lot to think about. I do want to mention one thing before we continue on, because we have to finish talking about what we were talking about in the very first segment, this floor crossing happening by disgruntled conservative MPs and how it impacts all of us, is when Chris Kopp was in the studio and we did this interview, he actually did a full recounting of the entire night of the Tarnak Farm incident. And we put that out as a separate video for Remembrance Day. So if it's on Remembrance Day when you're watching this, or after, I think it's after actually, just go to the CCFR's YouTube channel and you'll find it. And it'll say in the title, Tarnak Farm Incident. And it is an incredible interview. And anyway, make sure you don't miss that. All right. We have to talk about this floor crossing. So just give us a quick synopsis here on what's going on.
Well, you may remember this guy because he was the deputy speaker in the last parliament. We had Greg Ferguson as the speaker and Chris D'Entremont was the deputy speaker, and he wanted that job again. Now, this is a job that is elected and voted on by your colleagues from all parties. You're not entitled to it. Anyways, he didn't get it. Tom Kmek, another Conservative MP, got it. He's been disgruntled ever since, and he crossed the floor yesterday during the budget. His social media went dark. Everyone was wondering what's going on. There was some rumors, and then sure enough, a statement came out. Now, you'll remember during the last election, we encouraged gun owners to get out there, do what they can to help friendly candidates that are friendly to our cause, like put your money in your feet where your mouth is and get working on this stuff. And I heard last night from Matt Kozera, he's a CCFR member and supporter, and he did exactly that in that riding. And he took time off work. He volunteered for this guy. He door knocked. He pounded in signs. He handed out literature. And he just feels super betrayed. He shared with me like a hand signed thank you note that he got. And I don't know how that feels to other people, but you just ran under the Conservative banner 6 months ago. And now you've decided that you're going to give your riding to the Liberals. So there's rumors of more coming. Other social media accounts are going dark. I guess we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, it looks like Mark Carney may very well get his majority by Christmas.
By making backroom deals. Anyway, All right. We are out of time. Thanks for coming on today. It's our Remembrance Day episode. I think it's really important for us to remember these things. And so hopefully you enjoyed it. Any closing comments, Ms. Wilson?
Yeah, I want to thank those who served and those who are still serving. I know you've got lots in my family under that category. Thank you for your service, and be safe out there.
All right, awesome. Thanks for the update. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and I guess we'll see you next time.
We'll see you then.